Hello everyone, Criticorn here, and welcome to a new little mini-series where I'll be discussing ships, the good and the bad. I'll be talking about the overall game performance of the ship, theory crafting, and also sharing some of the specifications, its strengths and weaknesses, to better help players and make them self-aware of just exactly how good a ship's going to perform in the verse. I was using one of the starter ships and I noticed that this particular ship had some strengths, had some weaknesses, and gave me a really nice reality check of just exactly what its limitations were. I want to share that experience with you, so to better help players know if they want to pledge for the game, maybe purchase a ship, or use a ship as a stepping stone for something that could advance their career in the game. And as disclaimers go, I'm just sharing my humble opinion, and I don't have too much experience at the game. So remember, when I see a weakness in a ship, a player might see a strength. The great thing about Star Citizen is we're all going to use and approach our objectives differently. And while players might use a ship one way, I might use it another. In short, just don't take this chattery piece of corn too seriously. It's just my humble opinion. The Aurora MR, a ship of style, a ship of class, for elegant taste, slick wings with red stripes, plenty of window panels, and a really slow acceleration. This is the Aurora MR review. Now, when you pledge for Star Citizen, the two cheapest ship packages currently at $45 are the Aurora MR or the Mustang. The Mustang is a very fast, agile kind of ship, while the Aurora MR is more of an industrial, clunky, bulky kind of ship. Now, I picked the Aurora between the two, and I didn't think too much of it at first. I really didn't care for it. It's not the ship that I'm going to be using when it comes to maybe cargo, bounty hunting, exploration, salvage. I just thought it was going to be something that was going to rust in my garage. But as I've been playing the game, I've been using the Aurora above anything else that I have in my hangar. I find the Aurora to be so cool when it comes to stylization points. It looks clunky, it looks bulky, it looks spacey. It really feels like a cool exploration ship that you would see in Star Wars or coming out of Coruscant or Mos Eisley. When it comes to the design, I love this ship even more than any other of the single-seated fighter class ships in Star Citizen. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that because all the other ships look really cool, they perform really well, and the performance of the Aurora isn't very good, but when it comes to how it looks, it's so cool looking that it actually makes me forget I'm in one of the weaker class ships in the game. When I'm flying around, I'm just staring at stuff in amazement, and I love putting that ship in the backdrop, and it just makes me feel like I'm exploring space in a spaceship. I've used a lot of other ships, I really don't care how they look, but for this one, it really takes the cake. So when it comes to the Aurora and how it looks, oh man, I'm just a sucker for it. It just looks so dang cool. However, there's a trade-off, and that is the Aurora's engines. They are slow, both in quantum drive and acceleration. The quantum drive, traveling from one planet to another planet, is very slow compared to other ships. It's basically a 2-to-1 ratio. Simply put, if I travel in Aurora, it's going to take me 12 minutes. If I travel in a Reclaimer, it's going to take me 6. Do 12 jumps, do the math, it's going to be an hour of gameplay lost in the Aurora versus in the Reclaimer. Granted, the Aurora is very cheap as far as fuel consumption goes, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot there to offer. So remember that, guys. You want to be out of the Aurora as soon as possible if you're going to be jumping around exploring the verse. You don't want to lose all of that time lost just sitting in your seat waiting to get to that next destination. Now, the acceleration of the ship is also very slow. If you're in a dangerous situation and you're getting chased by pirates, maybe a big asteroid's about to smash into you, the acceleration on this ship is also very slow, which is also just another reason that you really want to consider getting out of this ship and using it instead of the Aurora. You can tweak the ship, but then why tweak this when you can tweak the next ship up? When it comes to the firepower of the Aurora, it's equipped with 4 small weapon mounts and 1 small missile turret. The firepower against another ship isn't going to be the strongest anything outside of its weight class. If it attacks any medium or large size vessels, let alone a capital ship, its lasers just won't be strong enough to penetrate the shields, let alone the armor. As far as ships within its weight class, it might be able to hold its own, especially if you upgrade a lot of the features, but in the end, it's going to be outmaneuvered and outgunned by pretty much any other ship in the game. And while the Aurora might not be the strongest space combat ship, it's certainly going to be a lot of fun using an air-to-surface ground attacks as an air support vehicle. I'm going to be using the Aurora to attack raider encampments, take out enemy armor, light infantry, disable anti-air turrets. I can see the Aurora excelling in this because, one, it's so cheap and easy to maintain, and because it also has energy weaponry, and it can use this instead of regular ammunition to long sustain an engagement and not run out and have to go resupply. The Aurora could be a lot of fun in this area, and I'm personally going to be using this ship as an air support vehicle. I also want to touch on another feature, and that's the Aurora's cargo capacity. It does have a variant where you can upgrade the cargo capacity underneath the Aurora, and it carries a few extra SCU boxes with it, but in the long run, after testing this out myself in the game, no, the Aurora's cargo capacity doesn't make it worthwhile to deliver cargo from point A to point B. If you stay within a planet's surface and you know where a good deal's at, sure, you might stand to make a little profit, but because the speed of the Aurora is really slow, and because its cargo capacity is so small, don't want to delude yourself into thinking that the Aurora is a great testing ground to try cargo out. There's other ships out there like the Hull A that are just as small but can hold 8 times more cargo than the Aurora. So keep that in mind. Use the Aurora as more of finding or stumbling upon a treasure chest, as you will. Finding loot, whether it be in a derelict wreck, finding some battlefield on the ground and you see a few extra guns lying around, an upgraded suit, something like that. That's what the Aurora's containers are really good for going out and exploring, finding some hidden treasures or something of value that you like and you want to take home with you. And finally, one of the last features I find, which is going to be very underrated up until the verse expands, is the Aurora's bed. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of ships out there, a lot of expensive ships that don't have a bed. Well, what is the bed? The bed is a checkpoint that allows you to save your progress, save your location, and walk away from your computer. And as most of you know, real life has to come first, and whether that means you need to get off your computer in the next minute or you need to pick up and play at a later date, the bed allows you to do this without having to be concerned about losing any progress, your ship, or any special items you have with you. For a starter ship to have this, I think it's a fantastic feature. It allows all the players to log out and save their progress, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of horror stories of some poor souls that walked away from their computer for 15 minutes and when they came back, they were blown out of the sky by some pirates. So don't underrate that bed. It's a fantastic feature, and I'm really glad the Aurora has one. It also is going to go without saying that the ship insurance on this particular ship is going to be really cheap and affordable. It's going to be very economical as far as buying fuel, and also the ship degeneration mechanic where the ships are going to degrade over time and you have to replace engine parts or anything that's going to be taking on a lot of wear and tear. It's going to be very easy to maintain in this particular ship because it is so small. It's one of the smallest basic starter ships you can get in the game, which is just another good thing for the Aurora. So there you have it, folks, the good and the bad of the Aurora, and while I personally don't think the Aurora is going to be the best ship-to-ship combatively, it's still going to be a lot of fun using in air-to-surface ground attacks, lending that air support, or going out and attacking small encampments like raiders or some criminals who have held up somewhere. It's going to offer a lot of adventure for players too, and I think it's going to hold a special place in my heart as it's being one of the first ships I've ever owned. I'm going to go on a lot of adventures with it, and I'm going to remember those from days to come, even after I buy those bigger and better ships. I'm always going to remember those great times I had with the Aurora, and I'm always going to cherish that. So that's just me personally. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great week, and I shall see you in the verse.